of course we also need the questionnaires to be completed. So this will be the best way to test hormones.
Fantastic. What are the 5 hormonal imbalances for women, or is this also applicable to men?
Okay, let's answer one by one. 5 most important hormonal disturbances. For youngsters, I think nowadays I'm seeing a lot of polycystic ovarian syndromes. So in polycystic ovarian syndromes, we are seeing that younger girls, with period irregularity or the period stop completely, and then at the same time they're starting to gain weight, they're becoming excessively hairy, they're losing hair, they are getting dark patches, they have dark patches around their neck. We call it acanthosis nigricans, okay? It's like dark patches that appear around the neck, and you can also have these melasmic patches around the face. And of course, they also may have insulin issues, because polycystic ovarian syndrome is always related to insulin resistance as well. So sometimes there's a lot of weight gain also going on. So this is an important hormone issue that needs to be diagnosed as early as possible and treated, because there's a lot of women who are infertile just because of this, and it's sad because this is something that can be diagnosed. Very simple, a blood test, a proper physical examination, ultrasound scan, we can diagnose. And if we correct both the insulin resistance with medication and cycle and improve their hormonal imbalances, then they will get, in my experience, they will get that proper menstruation within 2 or 3 months, and then they can get it right through, and then they remain fertile. Because if they were not to treat it, then they start to develop cysts and all that later on. There's a lot of things need to be done to get them to be pregnant and to give birth to a healthy child as well. So it's important. Other than the personal issues that the person can have, they can also have an issue in their family life because of the infertility issues. Okay, the second important thing that I notice among patients, especially starting from 35-40, I notice that a lot of women have low thyroid issues. Okay, thyroidism or hypothyroidism is a common disorder that I notice. Of course, hyperthyroidism, that is too much of thyroid hormones, and that most of the time presents with the very thick, we call it multinodular goiter or Graves' disease as we call it. That is something that easily people pick up on, because they can see this thing growing around their neck. So they will straight away get it treated. But many of the women who are coming to me for gaining weight, or they are coming to me because they feel extremely fatigued and they don't feel like themselves, they actually feel very dull, they feel bored, they lost their libido, they don't feel interested in going out and exercising. It's a no-win situation for them. And the solution is very simple. What they need to do is, and many of them see me for hair loss as well. They can have patchy hair loss or very thinning, brittle hairs, and they generally have very dry and irritated skin. And with the advent of all sorts of skincare that is sold on the net, they will have all the wrong things done, and they see me for skin issues as well. So whatever it is, when I run tests, I find out that they have hypothyroidism. Okay, and it's a shock, because they did not have a growth here. Most of them, I say, I don't have anything here. It doesn't mean you need to have a bulging thyroid here to have hypothyroidism. And the other thing I must mention is, it's not enough to just do a basic hormone test when it comes to thyroidism, because what I'm noticing more and more is many people nowadays, maybe it's the food chain, maybe it's the stress, maybe it's the environment, maybe it's the air, I don't know what it is. I find that many people have autoimmune thyroiditis. So most of the time I'm pushed to run further tests to diagnose whether they have autoimmune. If autoimmune, then the treatment is again going to be a little bit more fussy, a little bit more specific. It's not just about giving a, thyroxine. It has to be, because with thyroxine, the person will only improve a certain extent and they will plateau. So if we diagnose autoimmune, the treatment is going to be better, then they will come out, smelling roses. So this is what we want to do. The other thing, which is a global phenomena, is what we call as the cortisol deficiency. Okay, the whole world it's not just COVID-19 pandemic. There is a pandemic of cortisol deficiency. That means everybody is deficient in cortisol. So we call it adrenal fatigue syndrome. Okay, so adrenal fatigue, adrenal is a very important gland that sits on top of the kidney, and it's only a pea-sized gland, but it produces certain very important hormones, which is cortisol, dehydroepiandrosterone. These are important hormones for immune function, for blood pressure regulation, for your mood, how much you can resist infections, very, very important hormones. And this also the way your energy and your gaining or losing weight is concerned. So this is a global phenomenon, so most people need to be alert on that. So if you're gaining a lot of weight around your upper body, your trunk, and your waist is disappearing under you, then be aware you may be adrenally fatigued. Okay, so in which case you again need to run the proper testing. And whatever I'm telling you is not, please don't go to the pharmacy or go to your doctor and say, please give me, I think I have this, please give me cortisol supplement. No, it does not work like that. Hormones are very potent. They can also be dangerous if prescribed in the wrong doses and prescribed to the wrong people. What your sister does and what you do may be the same thing, but the result is different because your hormones are different. So we need to diagnose you properly, need to have all the physical examination, and only if you're safe and in safe doses, we can give you this medication. But you have to be aware of that, because I know people who got more and more stressed with their work life. They couldn't sleep and they kept it like that going. When your adrenal is low, you have no energy throughout the day. You feel extremely tired in the afternoon. And at night, you feel very alert. You can't sleep. You're irritable, you're moody, you're fighting all the time with your neighbors or your friends. If you're always fighting, how are you friends? But that's how it is. And then you're becoming larger and larger by the day. And of course, you may also develop some wooziness, easily feel giddy, want to lie down. You'll feel better when lying down rather than sitting up. This is because the cortisol will regulate your high blood pressure, your blood pressure regulation. So when you lie down, somehow it's a little bit more stable. Then when you're sitting up, it goes haywire, so you feel a bit woozy. You easily catch coughs and flus, and for no reason your skin is getting rashes. You're feeling itchy, eczematous, contact dermatitis, psoriasis, a lot of things. So it's a very, very important hormone. And I know of people who ignore the warning signs, and despite telling them to be on hormones, their thing is like somebody scared them and say, oh, don't take all those are steroids. No, not really. If you go for bioidentical, we give you very natural adrenal extracts. They are so natural, or they are plant-based. It doesn't have to be any steroid. But generally people scare you like that. They stop it and they go into adrenal crisis. An adrenal crisis, they crash and they're almost like they're going to die. They can't get up, they can't breathe properly, they cannot stand up without help. So they have to be hospitalized. And sometimes it takes them so many years to just recover from that. So none of us go into that kind of crisis. We have to recognize, and if you're going to the correct doctor, you have to be brave to take their suggestions. And don't listen to people who are not experienced in this field. You need to listen to people who have a long track history of treating people like this. So how many have I talked about?
Quite a few.
Okay, thyroid.
Yes, thyroid.
PCOS, thyroid,
Adrenal.
Adrenal.
Um,
I mean, low estrogens is another